Hey guys, it's Sunser. Welcome back to another video, and we need to talk about Schecter Japan. Because, listen, I don't want to speak for everyone, but I'm gonna assume most of you are like me, and when you hear the name Schecter, the image that immediately pops into your head probably involves EMGs, abalone, red quilt, maybe flames, or tribal designs. Whoa, those are some gloriously Schecter-looking Schecters. Listen, the Monster Energy reputation didn't just come from nowhere, it was earned. But whatever Schecter you were picturing, it probably was not something like this, like this, like this, or like this. Oh my god, that's cool. But what the hell? These are Schecters? Does Schecter Japan know what Schecters are supposed to look like? Nah. What is going on? Really high-end, usually reasonably priced, sometimes straight-up dentist-y, made-in-Japan Schecter guitars that no one's talking about? Why are these a secret? And it's bizarre. Even if you can't buy their guitars at your local shop, a lot of people are still aware of Fender Japan or of ESP Japan, but for as big a name as Schecter has, Schecter Japan still manages to fly under everyone's radar. It's like this entirely separate Schecter world with their own identity and a completely independent catalog that no one seems to talk about, if they even know that Schecter Japan exists, myself included until very recently. The Schecter Japan rabbit hole is one I've been meaning to go down, and when this popped up, that's too sick. It's time. So I figured I'd turn on the camera so we can go down with each other. You know what I mean. So smack a like on the video if you go down to enjoy it. Damn it. Smack a like on the video if you go on to enjoy it. That massively pleases the YouTube algorithm in all the right ways. And let's take a closer look at what is going on with Schecter Japan. Okay, so here we are, main Schecter site. We got the C1 ink bomb. That looks pretty cool. All right. This is all checking out. And here we are on the Schecter Japan site. So if it wasn't already clear from the guitars, very, very different. Schecter Japan guitars right at the top, all made in Japan, none of which are listed on Schecter.com. Oh, we've got some Japanese artist signatures. Let's see. This guy's listed at the top, so let's see what he's got. Oh my god, what are these? Oh, you know I'm a sucker for sandblasted ash. Hey, this actually looks pretty Schecter-y, though. Ooh, this one's pretty sick. It's got the Scallon headstock with like a Jazzmaster body. And then this guy has like Schecter Charvels, just about every color. Oh, I'm not even gonna lie, I like that a lot. Weird Schecter logo on a straight up Fender headstock though, and a lot of Fender vibes in general, and like a lot of Charvel vibes too. Ooh, and they like their nice, highly figured tops. But like a lot of the cool Schecter Japan guitars I was seeing, they're just not on the Schecter Japan site. So let's go to the About page, because that's a good place to start. Huh. I don't read Japanese. Okay, 1978. He started Schecter in Van Nuys, California. Brass hardware and black parts, highly praised. Schecter originals. It's been about 30 years. Music scene has changed rapidly. Playing styles and sounds have changed. Schecter was born to meet the demands of musicians. Schecter's been making many electric guitars. Blah, blah, blah. Continue to challenge new possibilities. Okay, good. Okay. Alright, so Schecter has made many guitars and will continue to make guitars. Very good. I'll be honest, I was hoping that would be a bit more helpful in understanding Schecter Japan. You know, it's cool that there are so many made-in-Japan Schecters, but why do they have this completely different vibe? Oh, that's fucking sick, actually. Sorry, I got distracted. I'm really liking their offsets. But why is their social media just completely separate? There's a big disconnect. So I've pulled a Finn McKenty, and I've pulled up the Wikipedia page to figure out what's going on.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
Alright, so this is definitely a condensed version of Schecter's history, but there's enough here to piece together the context as to how we got two entirely different Schecters. Same name on the headstock, but seemingly have nothing else in common and each just do their own thing. Fucking hell, those are some Schecters. So buckle up, buttercups, it's time for a history lesson as to how this happened, why this happened, and we're gonna look at a lot more Japanese-made Schecters along the way. Look how massive that bridge is. That is too cool with the reverse matching headstock. Schecter Guitar Research was founded in 1976 in Van Nuys, California as a repair shop that manufactured replacement and aftermarket guitar parts. And I promise you, we're going all the way back to the beginning because it's actually relevant. And eventually, they carried enough parts to start assembling their own guitars. In 1979, they hired a young luthier named Tom Anderson and started doing very high-end custom shop builds based on Fender designs. Yup, that Tom Anderson. Anderson Guitar Works. Tom Anderson. You starting to see it? You seeing where we're going here? And if you're not familiar with Tom Anderson guitars, they are very good. They're widely considered to be one of the best boutique guitar builders on the planet, and they are expensive. Much more expensive than the Japanese-made Schecters. With the current exchange rate, about $1,000. I mean, look at the headstocks, the double strap pin, the control layout, the colors, the pickups with those giant ass pole pieces. Now, I wasn't able to find anything official as to whether or not Tom Anderson is directly involved with anything that Schecter Japan does. There's speculation about a licensing deal. There are rumors that he might have been voicing Schecter Japan's pickups. At the very least, a lot of the Schecter Japan stuff is clearly very Tom Anderson inspired. If not just straight up high quality made in Japan, Tom Anderson designs, actually relatively attainably priced, especially used. 640 bucks? Are you kidding? For that price, I was checking to see if it was made in China. Made in Japan. Okay, so that's definitely starting to answer some questions, but it doesn't explain everything. There's a lot more to this story. We need to dive deeper. But before we do that, every time I talk about Japanese guitars, there's always a couple of comments like, okay, so these are really cool. Why are we even talking about them though if we can't even get them? I don't live in Japan, it's far away, I don't know anyone there, I don't speak the language, and yeah, I can definitely relate. It seems overwhelming, but it's actually way easier to get exclusive guitars from Japan than you might think. And it's especially effortless and stress-free through a Japan-based shopping proxy service like Zen Market. And huge thanks to them, they're the perfect sponsor for today's video. It's real simple. Basically, when you found a guitar you want, send them the listing, and yeah, that's it, you're good. Zen Market handles everything else from there. Think of them like your trusted friend in the local area who actually understands guitars. They'll buy the guitar in Japan on your behalf, inspect it to make sure there's no damage and nothing is missing, professionally and securely repack it for international travel, then ship it straight to your door. It is that simple. And you don't even need to know a word of Japanese. They've got you covered in English or 18 other languages. Zen Market takes care of all the logistics and takes all the stress out of the equation. It's peace of mind you can't underestimate when you're buying a special guitar from halfway across the globe. And I love that Zen Market has specific expertise with guitars, and they're even the official international shipping partner for Digimart, Japan's largest music instrument marketplace that all the most reputable shops list their guitars on. That's why you've been seeing so much Digimart on screen already, whether it's new releases, sought after vintage models, limited edition runs, or just weird instruments you cannot get outside of Japan. Digimart's one-stop shop makes it easy to find what you're looking for, or to stumble upon your next guitar you didn't even know you needed. Schecter made a what? So if you're looking to snag a lawsuit guitar, a budget Strat with a fully scalloped fingerboard, an obscure Schecter Japan model, an ESP Hatsune Miku signature, all of the above or something else entirely, grab 15% off your Zen Market order on any Digimart listing for a limited time with code BUY15DIGI. Plus the exchange rate is the best it's ever been, so it's kind of like getting a double discount. Basically, now is the perfect time to let Zen Market handle all the hard work for you. Click the link in my description and use code AGUFISH when you're creating your free account to get an exclusive 1,000 bonus Zen points, which can be used for 1,000 yen off international shipping. Just don't forget code AGUFISH when you're signing up, and code BUY15DIGI for the best deal on Digimart listings. But getting back to guitars you didn't even know you needed, or maybe that's just me projecting, but we move. Let's talk about more guitars from the mysterious and somewhat elusive Schecter Japan. Okay, so we're back to 1979. Schecter had just started making these custom shop builds based on Fender designs, and very quickly they started to build a reputation for their high quality. Big names started picking them up, including most famously Pete Townsend of The Who. By 1983, they just couldn't keep up with the demand. David Schecter sold the company, Tom Anderson left to start his own company, and investors took over to scale production. Not just in the US, but also with Schecter parts and guitars made in Japan, which were only ever sold in Japan. And we will never know if they intended to eventually bring Japanese-made Schecters to the US, because unfortunately, the growing popularity also attracted a legal smackdown from Fender, since Schecter was still using Fender's headstock on many of their guitars. So that was a big problem and kind of ground Schecter to a halt in the US. The investors decided they just didn't want to deal with any of that shit. So in 1987, Schecter was sold again. The new owner was a Japanese gentleman named Hisatake Shibuya, who also owned Musicians Institute in LA, Sunset Custom Guitars in California, 48th Street Custom Guitars in New York, and he was most well known for being the founder of ESP Guitars. Sadly, he passed away just a few months ago. And so he revived Schecter by bringing them back to their roots as an exclusive boutique American custom shop builder and as a high-end parts supplier. So yeah, ESP and Schecter were owned by the same guy, and so even though they've remained separate business entities and operate independently, there's no shared parent company or whatever. Now you know why later on there happened to be so much coincidental crossover, not just in terms of the guitar designs, but also in how they're managed. Okay, this is a gross oversimplification, but with ESP, you've got the ESP US side, headquartered in California, in charge of ESP USA and LTD, and then there's ESP Japan, headquartered where the company was originally founded, who are in charge of ESP Original, E2, Navigator, Edwards, Grassroots, all part of the ESP family, but clearly two separate websites. ESP Japan gets a bunch of wacky shit we don't get in the States. Over here, LTD has us spoiled for choice, whereas Japan gets one LTD, same name on the headstock, but ESP Japan and ESP US, very different lineups, and they kind of just do their own separate things. And it seems that 38 trillion 69% of viewers are doing their own separate thing instead of hitting the subscribe button. We've just passed 215,000 subscribers, which is insane. Thank you guys so much. And I can't even believe I'm saying this number, but it would be unbelievable to hit 250,000, 250,000 subscribers this year. So if you're enjoying the content and haven't already, here's your quick reminder to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. It makes sense why certain brands may not be mentioned on the US site, but it does seem kind of odd that ESP USA isn't anywhere on the Japanese site. They're not going to get in legal trouble. Those are literally ESP shapes, but that actually helps emphasize the point I'm trying to make here. ESP and Schecter are cousins. I guess it shouldn't be that surprising that the Schecter that we know and love in the US and Schecter Japan, with a lot of that Tom Anderson style influence, also kind of just do their own things. That is a beautiful guitar, by the way. How much is that? It's like 1,600 bucks. That's it's so nice. That's on like the higher end of what we've looked at, and that's still not terrible for like a high-end made in Japan guitar. I'm not even gonna look at the Tom Anderson price. Whoa, blue looks really nice too. Dude, I'm a Les Paul guy. I don't even like Floyd's. These prices for the used listings are tempting me though. I'm like actually glad this one's already sold, because that is fucking hell, that top is so nice. But okay, even if the different regions are managed independently, ESP shares shapes. Why are Schecter US and Schecter Japan guitars so different? Why is Schecter Japan like this and not like this? And by the way, I make fun of them a lot, but it's all out of love. Growing up, everyone was playing these. They're just so unapologetic. They just do not give a fuck, and I respect the hell out of that. So it seems when Schecter's current president, Michael Ciravolo, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but this is his actual picture, which is perfect. He looks exactly like what the president of Schecter should. He was appointed in 1995, and he wanted accessible guitars that reached to the new generation of musicians, and he was not a fan of Fender designs. So you can see the problem here. Up until that point, expensive, high quality, but low quantity Fender-inspired custom shop guitars was kind of Schecter's thing. So it was very intentional that when Schecter's LTD equivalent Diamond series launched, affordable mass production Korean imports specifically designed to gain US market share, it was a completely fresh reboot that looked nothing like the old Schecters. And when the C1 appeared in Papa Roach's Last Resort video, it was all over. Can we take a quick second to appreciate how ballsy a call that was? You know, you take over this company and you're like, okay, I know we've built our entire name over decades through these super high-end custom shop Fender design builds. We've got guys like Mark Knopfler and Pete Townsend that love them. Hear me out though, and it fucking works. This is now the dominant Schecter identity. Metal players don't even need to see the name on the headstock to know that these are Schecters. And so while the Schecter company had gone through this absolute roller coaster ride, legal troubles, ownership changes, now exploding as this edgy modern brand powering the new generation of metal players, throughout all of that, Schecter Japan, from what I can tell, had just been minding their own business. They just continued doing what they'd been doing since the early 80s. Think about that. They've been running their own show for almost as long as Schecter's been around as a company. It's actually very funny to flip back and forth between what Schecter Japan was doing and what Schecter US was doing in the same time period. God damn, that's so many strings. And Schecter Japan did not care. Whatever nonsense, however many strings you wanted to put on a Hellraiser, Schecter Japan just never got involved with this modern reboot. They literally just kept making old school Schecters, mainly Fender and Tom Anderson style designs, just like they first started doing at the original Schecter custom shop, or, you know, guitars that at least naturally evolved from that style. And apparently they'd been making parts in Japan so long, they'd actually built themselves a reputation as a reliable OEM supplier. That was a big part of their business. A lot of brands relied on them for high quality traditional style parts, including in fact ESP. So for a couple of reasons, Schecter Japan just didn't feel the need to get involved with any of this. With all that context, it now makes total sense as to why there's so much Fender and Tom Anderson DNA in Schecter Japan designs. It's almost like stumbling upon a Schecter time capsule. The time capsule being high-end, almost Tom Anderson clones at reasonable prices, built in Japan with production overseen in all likelihood by ESP. Oh, another interesting thing, you know, if high-end made in Japan Fender and Tom Anderson clones at reasonable prices wasn't enough, Schecter recently launched the Classic series, and while you may not have seen the rest of the Schecter Japan guitars, you might have seen these, because for the first time, high-end made in Japan Schecters available outside Japan. And I thought it was weird, but I didn't really dig into it at the time. But I actually really liked the California Classic. It's such a nice guitar, but neither that nor this carved top PT Classic are listed on the Schecter Japan site. It turns out, and Diamond Series on the headstock should have been a clue, but Schecter Japan actually had nothing to do with these. These are made in Japan at Fujigen, one of the most renowned guitar workshops in the world. So these are great guitars, and they do have that more traditional custom shop vibe. The thing is, Schecter Japan, they don't make their guitars at Fujigen. At least from what I've managed to find, the Classic series is a completely Schecter USA run project. So again, great guitars, but yeah, these are made in Japan Schecters that Schecter Japan doesn't seem to have had any involvement with. It's quite difficult to find any concrete information about this kind of stuff, but the general understanding seems to be that Schecter Japan's production is at least overseen, if not directly managed, by ESP. Some guitars might even be made in the same factory because, again, there was that OEM relationship, but either way, the general consensus is with Schecter Japan, you can expect near and about ESP Japan level quality. Okay, so let's recap. Reasonably priced, high-end Fender custom shop Tom Anderson clones made in Japan and allegedly to ESP Japan's very high quality standards. If all that is true, people are sleeping on Schecter Japan. I mean, I'm looking at the E2 Snapper, that's also a bolt-on, and significantly more expensive. Doesn't seem like they use the Fender headstock anymore though. That's pretty sick actually. Oh shit, that's a nice top. I'm still really liking this one, to be honest. Now, not every Schecter Japan guitar fits in with this Fender parts caster Tom Anderson lore. Open book headstock Schecter, made in Japan. Okay, it's one of those, I can't tell whether it's ugly or awesome or both, but I want it. Like, what is this? The Rexy Custom. Discontinued now, but it was at the very top of the 2019 magazine, so they had multiple trim tiers, a lot of colors, so this must have been important at some point. Oh my god, it keeps going. They also felt like there weren't enough 59 style standards on the market, so they decided to make their own. Hey, one-piece body actually, that's pretty nice. Again, I don't know why they did this, but that's a pretty decent price for a high-end made-in-Japan Les Paul. There's this thing that they made at some point, a Schecter hollow body Quantaro. Why not? Everyone was losing their minds over this new Sinister Gate signature, like, oh my god, Schecter dropped their first ever headless. And I'm not saying it doesn't have interesting features like 7-string, tremolo. I actually do not mind that green metallic and gold combo, but it's not Schecter's first ever headless. In terms of style, you'd have to say that Sinister's signature definitely has this beat, but Sinister's signature's only been out a couple of months. This Schecter headless has been out almost a year, and they also did this. That's cool. And they did a Het Flying V. It's even got Gibson Dirty Fingers? No way. Look, clearly there's still so much more to explore with Schecter Japan, but I've been filming a while. This video needs to stop somewhere. Look at that. It's literally got a dark theme because I've been filming so long the sun's gone. So let me know if you enjoyed this kind of introductory deep dive to a very overlooked brand. Personally, I love going down these rabbit holes and I find the history super interesting. I know not everyone cares. They're just like, show me the guitars, but I love finding out why things are the way they are. Hopefully you did too. Let me know if you want to cover more Schecter Japan and what other brand rabbit holes should we go down. But for now, I think that is more than enough rambling from me. Here's where I'll throw it to you. What are your thoughts on Schecter Japan guitars? Have you tried one? Do any catch your eye? Did you even know Schecter Japan existed? What do you think of their old school Fender, Tom Anderson inspired style versus the drywall punching style a lot of us grew up with? Again, said with affection. Any and all thoughts, drop them in the comments. Massive thanks to my incredible supporters on Patreon. You guys are the reason these videos keep happening. Their names are up on the screen right now because literally without you guys, the channel would be long dead. So if you enjoy the content and would like to join them too, you can become a patron for bonus extras and see your name up there as well. Social media, merch, and Zen Market links are in the description. Don't forget about that awesome deal if you're looking at Schecter or another Japan exclusive guitar. As always, thank you so much for watching. You've been awesome, and I will see you for the next video.